Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the One Meal Channel, where people from across the world, like Canada and Greece, and also places that are not those countries, converge to watch a 20-something-year-old named Nathan make a massive quantity of food to be consumed in a single meal. Enough food to probably feed a family of 3. And if you want to enjoy this video as much as I enjoy making them, grab yourself a meal of your own, maybe a beverage, or maybe you're just watching this before you go to bed. Let us have a sip with one another, a bite of food with one another in celebration of another episode of the One Meal Channel. Hello, and welcome back. Today, there's a swing shift over at the job, picking up a couple of additional shifts. And before we go out, we're going to have our makeshift lunch breakfast, which will just be a couple of eggs. These cooked up quite quickly, so my drink is not complete yet. We're going to make ourselves a few burritos. Let me show you. If you're new, just how big these burritos are going to be. We weighed them yesterday. This one in particular was 1.84 pounds. Just an absolute monster of a burrito. What I usually eat about 2 of those a day. They're about 1.5 pounds each on average, about 3 pounds of food. And yes, we had a commenter yesterday and asked, about every meal I have is around 2,000 calories. It is. I used to count my calories and show you kind of the breakdown of my macros as well. We stopped doing that because the results basically were the same every single day. What's the point of showing you the breakdown of my calories and doing all the measurements and weights if the result is the same every single day? But yeah, it's about 2,000 calories a day. I wouldn't say I'm a very physically active person. I used to do a lot of sports in high school. But ever since getting my adult job, I mostly just stay indoors when I'm not doing, yard work or working the second job. The second job is not work from home. The second job requires me to go out and about quite a bit. But our meal is a whole potato, a whole onion, 4 eggs, a cup of rice, and a healthy quantity of chicken. Usually either a whole chicken breast or 2 legs, a leg, a thigh, and a wing. So a whole rotisserie chicken usually will last me about 3 days, which makes sense because there's about 3 pounds of meat on each rotisserie chicken that I pick up from the store. It is obvious that I've completely misjudged the smoke point of the oil that I'm using, so we're going to turn that way down. Way down. The cool thing about this channel is that although I cook the same thing every single day, if you've been watching for the last 4 months, where we've been uploading at least 5 times a week, we've made several changes. For example, these kind of pre-ritual eggs are new. So we want to incorporate some more eggs in our diet. America, where I live, struggled with some pretty egregious spikes in egg costs, but as of recently, the costs have gone down. We have gone from bacon grease, because I used to cook with bacon a lot, to butter, and now to coconut oil as our primary cooking agent. Their second day of using coconut oil. And I gotta say, when we get the smoke point down, because smoke point is a little bit lower than both bacon grease and butter, I will quite enjoy it. These eggs are relatively crispy. You can tell I cooked them a little bit too much. I prefer my yolks over medium. Well, that's not entirely true. I prefer my yolks as least cooked as possible, where they're not runny all over the bottom of the plate. You know, if I have like some toast or something like that, something to sop it up, then I like runny eggs. But I'm trying to stay away from toast, trying to stay away from grains, which is a bit ironic to say, because we do cook with rice every single day. In an ideal world, I would be on primarily all protein and all fat. Carnivore is probably like my favorite diet that I've ever had, but it's also the most expensive diet that I've ever had. It is expensive eating 16 ounces of beef every single day. It is expensive and time consuming making a good amount of beef tallow for yourself every single day. And frankly, eating 6 to 8 eggs a day is expensive as well. So I commend you other OMAD enjoyers who go out and do eat that way. You guys might also have a big handful of like cranberries. I've seen they'll eat like 8 ounces of cranberries. I think that's awesome. It's got to be full of like vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Good, that smoke point is much better, much better. Good, we're even getting a good amount of crispiness out of the potatoes, which is nice. Yesterday, we were not so lucky. Don't get me wrong, the potatoes were cooked all the way through just fine. But they're just soft. Soft potatoes. Yeah, my favorite diet that I ever had was carnivore. Basically just eating a big piece of steak and a bunch of eggs. That was good, and it was a good way of losing weight as well, because I was still drinking a lot at the time. Now I don't really talk about it, but I just don't. I think it's been like a year and a half since I've really had alcohol in America. When I was in Japan, went to Japan for a couple of weeks. I drank every day that I was out there. I mean, it's just so ingrained in the culture out there that once you're done with your work, like your 12-hour shift in Japan, that you go out and you drink with your coworkers. So being out, going to the pubs, going to the bars, and just seeing what after work culture is like for people that live out there, like one of the highest performing countries in the entire world, it's impressive. But yeah, I was drinking quite a lot, probably like every day in America, even just a couple of years ago. And my preferred like alcohol of choice was like mixed drinks. So I would have basically like a rum and coke, something like that. And so that amount of soda was the first thing, just really high in sugars would put on weight. And then of course, if you're having beers, it's just like also really high in carbs. And so, you might, your regular diet, what you're eating, you eat a bunch of steak and a bunch of eggs, and then you go out and you have a bunch of alcohol on top of that. Maybe your caloric intake for just the carnivore was good, but then you add the alcohol and the sugar and the beers on top of it. Guess what? You're going way over. So I was probably, I wasn't unhealthy, but I was probably like 20 pounds overweight. When I cut the alcohol out, it helped me lose that weight. The best eating that I ever did, like my favorite thing to eat, was when I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I still ate like 3 square meals a day. I have a vivid memory of like being on the football team, where we would like wake up early. I would wake up early and I would run, because my conditioning was really bad. I was like a really small, undersized lineman, and I got moved to middle linebacker. It was just a new role I wasn't familiar with. And everybody was just extremely conditioned, and we had like a really deep linebacker team. Actually, our middle linebacker, I was put to middle linebacker. I was second string. The first string middle linebacker got Defensive Player of the Year, literally the best defensive player out of any player in the state. So when that was my competition, I was like, well, I gotta compete for playtime here. Might as well get my conditioning up. So I'd run in the morning, head to school, work out a little bit before class, go to class, practice after class in like doubles, and then you go home and then do your homework and then go to bed and do it all over again. And if we didn't have doubles, then it was usually workouts after school, and then like speed and agility, which is just like more running, quick sprints. I remember, I have a vivid memory of going home. My mom had made like a 9x9 dish of lasagna, like just a big ass piece of like lasagna. That was probably be enough for like 4 meals. And I remember just sitting down with the entire dish of lasagna, having YouTube and my homework here in front of me. And by the time I was done with all of my homework, I had eaten all of the lasagna. So I guess, eating everything is nice. In the mornings, I don't remember what I had. I think I just had like eggs, bacon, and potatoes. But over the summer, I got a summer job as basically helping work like on a garden. And after I worked on the garden for a while, the guy I worked with who paid me said that he needed to like cut some trees down, limb them, and then send them out to a logging company. I was like, oh, what an opportunity. I get to like be a logger. If I forgot the show on like Discovery Channel or History, but it was just showing what logging companies do. I was like, oh, what an opportunity for me to do that. And that is just the most brutal type work that I have ever done. After a long day of working in the garden and then going out and like cutting down trees, limbing them, and then hauling them off to a staging area to get loaded onto a truck, I would just be exhausted. And he would cook up fresh like tuna fish, like a big portion of tuna fish that he had caught like actually in the ocean and brought back. So not like in a can, just a big piece of tuna. A whole potato that he would fry up in a cast iron skillet. And then he had just probably like an acre of just green beans. He had just row upon row upon row upon row of green beans. And that's one of the things. We would pick them, and then we would can them, and we would take those cans of green beans and we go through like between us, and by a can I mean like a whole mason jar. And so half of a mason jar would be for him, and the other half of the mason jar would be for me, and that would be our dinner. And it was just fantastic. That's probably like the best dinner that I ever had. Cooked in butter. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. If I had my dream diet of what I could eat, whatever I want, whatever having to worry about it with as much quantity as possible, it would probably be like bacon and eggs in the morning with, like a sandwich around noon. So that bread with those carbs with some lettuce and some sliced meats and cheese while I was in the middle of working in the garden or working out in the with the logging. Ending that with just a big piece of tuna, big piece of fish, and potatoes, green beans. Oh my gosh, it's probably the best eating I've ever had in my life. My favorite food, of course, is the steaks. That's why I ate it for so much. I went to a big steak phase, which then resulted in carnivore. The best restaurant food that I've ever had definitely was in Japan. I actually had. I wasn't really big into tempura. My roommate Noah is. He loves like tempura. We really wanted to try out some tempura places in Japan. Like our second time going. I picked out this place in Akihabara. one of the few places that we actually had to like stay outside for a half hour because it was so popular. And we're having some doubts, you know. I mean, maybe it wasn't popular, maybe it was busy, maybe it was a bunch of tourists and stuff that had gone there. So we're a little concerned, or like maybe this was the wrong choice. That tempura place was probably like one of the most amazing restaurant foods that I'd ever had. Just a big bowl of rice with just a variety of different tempura options for us. I mean, there was a big, massive piece of eel, which, like, I don't have any reservations against eel, but for the biggest piece of meat, the biggest, you know, piece of tempura being out there, being eel was a little concerning. They had massive prawns, some zucchini and some pumpkin, of all things, some tempura pumpkin, which was really cool. And what, they had some other stuff. They had like tempura egg. It was fascinating. So they like stuffed an egg into like this tempura batter and then fried, you know, because it's like fried. But the egg was still runny on the inside, completely. And I mean runny, not over medium. It was just completely runny. So it was like having a completely like over easy poached egg inside of, no, it wasn't. It was just like a completely runny egg, like inside of the super crispy tempura. And they had it on the side. You were supposed to like use it as a dipping sauce. And so yeah, you take your smaller tempura pieces and you just dip it in like this runny tempura egg. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I love that. So that's probably, definitely, recently, like one of the best meals that I've ever had at a restaurant. I am, I do have kind of a predisposition towards sushi as well. It's another thing. I had a buddy that I played football with. He was a grade below me, but we were the same age. And we would go out probably like once a week to one of the sushi boat places and just see how many plates of sushi that we could have. And so just once a week we go out, like drop 30 plates of sushi between us each. It was probably like $100 for each of us. We had our own like jobs. I worked probably like 30, as many hours as I could. You know, you're not 18 yet, so it's just you couldn't work full time. I don't think. I think your max amount of hours was like 32 that you could work. So I worked the max amount of hours that I could, and you're making, you know, just slightly above minimum wage. There were minimum wages back there, like maybe like $10. So you work like an 8-hour shift. You make $80, you know, pre-tax. You go out once a week, spend $100 on just sushi. Looking back on that, not the best financial decisions. But I remember doing that. Just some of the best memories that I've had. My best memories, probably the most enjoyment that I get out of doing things, probably revolves around food. You know, it's like the one place that everybody can just kind of come together and relax. You know, you can sit down with people that, frankly, you don't even like that much. And if they just behave at a restaurant, you know, not be annoying, don't be rude to the people who are serving you, and don't complain about the food, even if it's something that you don't like. You know, just don't eat it, get something else. You can make friends with just about anybody, or at least just enjoy the way you're using your time. Plus, you don't even need to have people around you to enjoy your food. You can enjoy your food alone. It's very therapeutic for me to have like a long day of work. Come out here around 5 o'clock when I'm done. Pick all of this up, chat with all of you, even though you can't say anything back. And then go into my room and eat while I get my video uploaded. It's pretty simple to upload, but since the videos are longer, first I have to stitch everything together, because the GoPro camera cuts everything every 11 minutes. So if it runs out of battery or something gets corrupted, not the whole, the whole footage isn't lost. Some setting that's built in to this GoPro. So I have to stitch everything together and then, export that video. And then I put that video into a compression software, so it lowers the total file size of the video. And then I upload that to YouTube. And I've tried, that takes a lot of time, but just exporting the video from the video editing software and straight to YouTube is longer. YouTube does not upload things very quickly. YouTube will take like an hour and a half to upload a 30-minute video if I don't compress it. When it takes me about 30 minutes to export initially, and then another 30 minutes to compress, and then YouTube will upload that in about 10 minutes. And during that time, I've finished eating all of my food. I might play a little game on my computer while everything is finishing up rendering and stuff. I'll come back out into the kitchen and clean up everything that's in the sink. And then depending on what I want to do for the rest of the day, I can relax, hang out with my roommate, work on some other projects, play a video game, do some reading, hang out with some friends. It's just a good system. Noah likes to say that, and he's not wrong, that I will, as soon as Friday hits, I'll just get extremely grumpy because my system and my flow of things has to change. And then as soon as Monday comes around and I can go make money again in my sales job, that I'll cheer right up and everything will go back to normal. And as soon as the weekend hits again, I'll be all grumpy. It was embellishing a little bit. But there is some serious truth to that. So don't like my routine being broken. I am only human. I have my quirks. Noah and I were talking last night, and I was telling him, I just can't stop talking about, when the fishing season opens up here around Memorial Day, which is in May. Once the fishing season opens up, it's I just want to spend, as many weekends as I can going out and just catching some rainbow trout. Because I'm not tired of eating chicken, but I would love to just give you guys some more variety and just supplement a little bit of my protein every day with some of that fish. I don't really care how big. With rainbow trout, there's a limit of 6 a day, and I don't think there is a restriction on size. Maybe it's 6 inches or something, but you really don't want to keep it, there's no meat on a fish smaller than that anyway. And I was saying, I really don't care what the size of the fish is. I don't want to catch and release fish. That's not the reason why I go fishing. It's kind of weird for me to it's not fun for me just to go out and torture a fish for a while and then throw it back. That doesn't seem like fun to me. This has been not plugged in the whole time. Anyway, that's not fun to me. I want to catch it and keep it so that I can eat. And I would love just to get a huge surplus of fish sitting in the freezer so I can take a couple of just whole fish and fry them in a pan like we did on Christmas last year. Probably one of the best Christmas dinners that I've had when I wasn't with the family, of course. Absolutely, absolutely love that. He suggested maybe we go out and get some kokanee, have some larger salmon. Well, kokanee isn't very large, but just some larger fish, larger than rainbow trout. That way we just have more meat, more variety, more to eat, and I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that. There's a nice spot for the rainbow trout that I'm looking forward to go back to. And if I do, I'll make sure to film some of that for you. It'll be more like a catch and cook video, which I am all for. I am all for that. So my plans after we're done here, like I said, I work swing shift. It's about 12:30 right now. My videos usually don't come out until after 5 o'clock my time. So I'm just gonna take this, turn this into burritos. We're just about done here. We're gonna wrap up here shortly. Cook this, turn this into burritos, put it away. I'll go and I'll export this video, and then I'll just set it to upload straight to YouTube. There's no need to compress it because I'm not in a rush to try to get it out. If it takes an hour and a half, if it doesn't upload until like 4 o'clock, it's still coming out earlier than how you guys, when you guys usually see it. So let's finish breaking apart these rice clumps. Get the egg incorporated in there nice. Turn the heat up slightly because adding all of this cold rice and cold egg to this will reduce the heat of the pan. And then we'll open up our fresh batch of massive jumbo-sized tortillas. These are quite literally the biggest tortillas that I could get at the store. There are 10 of them. And they weigh over 2.5 pounds. Massive. Absolutely massive. What's up, Noah? There's a Mexican restaurant that we get lots of food from that has really thin tortillas that I like. I tried to find those. I thought I did, but they just didn't do the trick for me. All right, about a minute to heat these up so that they don't break apart when we roll them. You can smell that the egg is cooked through really nice on the bottom here. Yeah. Let's flip this around so the egg cooks well on the top. Get some of that excess moisture taken care of. We'll start our assembly process. Let's see what we got going on. Finish this up with a bit of sriracha. Get a little bit of a head start here. Get this going for a minute. We haven't had a mess up on our rolling experience yet. Will today be the day? Well, that's a lot of food. That is a lot of food, my friends. You can't see it, but I can feel it in the back. That food wants to escape. Alright, there's one. As gentle as we can, opening up this microwave with our dirty hands. Sorry, smacked you guys. Not intentional, happens about once a video. It's kind of weird with you guys just hanging on my chest. There's the last of it. Let's finish this up. This one feels like it's going to be easier to roll together. I remember when I used to make when I used to make burritos at my first job, we would take some tomato, put it on the back so that everything would seal up quite nice. Don't think we have to worry too much about that for these. Gosh, to be honest, I'm not too impressed with my rolling skills today. I think everything's going to be fine and fit together just fine. It's the eating experience that I'm worried about. Because the last thing that I want to do is bring these to work, lay everything out, and have it all fall apart, and then I have to end up eating it with a fork. So, there we go. See the back right there? Just not tucked in very well. That was a disaster waiting to happen. There we go. And for my final trick, I shall weigh these burritos together. 1.61 or 2 if we round up, 1.61. And 1.78. So we're getting pretty, I'm not doing very good on keeping things around the same weight. But again, well over 3 pounds. Nearly 3.5 pounds there of food. Those tortillas really do help increasing the weight. They're a lot heavier than they look. So with that, I'm going to finish cleaning up my workstation, and I'll see you all in a video tomorrow where we'll make even more burritos. Bye!